بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Welcome everybody to the Safina Society. Nothin. We good? Safina Society, Nothing But Facts live stream. A special interview today, and we're streaming about 2 hours earlier, or maybe 1 hour earlier than usual, because Umrah for Youth we're right after this interview. We're all heading off to JFK, and a whole bunch of people will be coming to the studio, and we'll all take our cars together to JFK. And of course, we have with us our esteemed guest now, who has now become, I would say, world renowned after being Western world renowned. Now, there's always yamkuruna yamkurullah. They always mess up with these things, but it actually turns into your favor. So I want to welcome to the stream Sami Hamdi. You're muted, I think.
Jazakallah khair for having me, Sheikh Shadee.
Well, yeah, I want to start right off the bat with something for everyone to say, that if you want to hear the story of the actual arrest and all that, go to Muhammad Jalal's stream, so that we're not going to repeat the same thing. That wouldn't make any sense. But it was a really great story or storytelling of what happened. Of course, it's not a great story, but you told it very well, right? It was captivating, right? It was honestly captivating to hear to hear the whole story of how these people approached you and then put you in a van like the movies, like you said.
Yeah.
And you met other prisoners, you met others. Point being, you made a very good point that a new Vista has been opened up for you. Before I hand it over to you, I want to tell you a little story that was very similar. I felt something very similar happened with me. We opened up a soup kitchen here. This whole area is 99% Hispanic. They're also, very, very poor. They're very in need. But shortly after I opened up the soup kitchen, about a year later, I ended up being on a trip in the Dominican Republic. And then passport confusion happened. I ended up sort of stranded there with my son. He was about 1 year old. And it ended up 1 week, 7 days. Imagine now 7 days with a kid, the strollers, right, diapers, and then now you don't know how much you're spending. I'm spending I'm burning money every day, living in the capital next to the embassy. So I end up moving to a smaller little space in a poorer part of town just to save some money. Point being, I thought about the wisdom of this happening, and I thought, subhanAllah, I'm opening a soup kitchen. Now I get to see how they live, right? You are also an activist. Now you get to see how other people, what's happening to other people. So my first question is to you, that you're being arrested, you're being put in jail, opens up a new vista for you. So tell us a little bit about that.
SubhanAllah, when I came home, my wife said to me, I know you're happy to be home, but I get a sense you're a bit sad. I told her, wallahi, it was a bit heartbreaking to see how happy they were that I was going to be released, knowing that they will continue to be forgotten and incarcerated in those particular places. And Sheikh Shadee, believe me, I remember the first day when I arrived, Denny Shamayev from Chechnya just runs up to me, him and the other Muslims, and like, brother, food here rubbish. And they just start loading my food. And I know how much it costs for them to buy it. I know that for them, it's not easy to get it, because the following week when they were ordered from the commissary, they were counting cents, counting pennies. you know, in terms of, I don't have enough for this, enough. But they would never make me feel like that. If I hadn't overheard them, I wouldn't have known about it. They knew that after I fell ill and I couldn't keep anything in my stomach for 6-7 days, they knew I had a preference for fruits, you know, apples and all, which were very rare to have. So they would go and trade, you know, 3 bread for an apple. They'd go and trade a Snickers bar for, and they'd be like, brother Sami, take it, you know, like eat. And this is before they knew about the whole, you know, that I'm a journalist or that. There was something so deeply moving in the way it was done, you know, ba'afwiya, like just in a way which is like, I just want to see you happy, brother, have it. I want to ease your suffering, brother, have it. We're all in this together. There was something very beautiful about it and humiliating about it. Humiliating that never in my life did I put my eyes on these places. Never did I even consider going to even visit or to figure out how Muslims might be suffering these, and even non-Muslims. You know, I remember we finished the Salat once, and this older man looks at us and he says, I really hate it when I see people praying in these places. I said, why? He goes, there's no God in these walls and there's no rule of law. He goes, we're a forsaken people. I've been here 9 months and I haven't had a single visitor. I remember when every day, so people, alhamdulillah, mashallah, may Allah bless the community, they'd come, you know, they'd come and visit, you know, and how is it, Sami? We had visiting days, Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, and sometimes on a Sunday. So each time, Hamdi, you got a visitor. Hamdi, you got a visitor. And the other inmates would be like, you know, Sami, I'm really happy for you, you know. I'm really happy you get visitors. I'm like, yeah. They're like, yeah, man, 9 months, not a single person's come for me. Me, 6 months, not a single person comes. Me, this, you know, something so simple. I remember on the first, when Friday came, I told them, guys, what time is Jumu'ah? And they looked at me and went, what do you mean Jumu'ah? I said, Jumu'ah, like, come on, brothers. And astaghfirullah, I said to them, fear Allah. And they looked at me, brother, we haven't done Jumu'ah for a year here.
Subhanallah.
I said, what do you mean you haven't done Jumu'ah? And they all looked, they said, none of us know how to do it. So we just don't. And the Imam, he came like 3-4 months ago, and like since then hasn't really come, because I know that it's hard for chaplains to go to middle of nowhere and the like. I'm not blaming the Imam for this. So I said to them, guys, Jumu'ah is easy. And I said, yalla, gather the brothers, we'll do like a quick 10-15 minute one before yard time starts, and then we'll go and join it. I remember I did something very simple about, you know, shukr, and that Allah, you know, is not unaware of what's happening. I finished, and Denny, this 23-year-old Chechnyan, goes, I forgot how wonderful Jumu'ah feels. And you know, the irony of this is that I had been in Bay Area the week before I was arrested, or a week and a half. So there is a brother, very beloved brother. I won't mention his name, though you might know him as well. He said, Sami, you need to incorporate AI in your daily job. It will help you with the organization. I said, give me an example how I can use it. He said, for example, on Gemini, I've told Gemini every Friday to give me the timings of the Jumu'ah in the 4 mosques near me, and which Imam is giving the khutbah for each one, so that Gemini, when it produces, I get to choose which one I want to go.
Oh, wow.
And I went, the luxury, you know. I wanted, and these brothers here are dying just for any Jumu'ah, you know, just for anyone. Even, and I know this is going to sound quite, you know, like, no, not crude, but I remember when one of them brought me an orange, and I'd been struggling a little bit. Usually when I eat an orange, you eat one and you grab the second, you know, and if you stick with this orange, wallah, Shadee, I grabbed the first one, I went sucking it out first, you know, and then keeping the skin, putting it in a water so maybe I can make a mini orange juice. And then the second one again, you know, and you look at yourself and you think, subhanAllah, even another concept. I never knew how many hours there are in the day. Like really, you know, because time goes so slow. You know, you're going past, I don't know, you try to do this, you try to do some adhkar, you go, you know, in the yard time, you're reading a book and whatever, and it's still midday, it's still noon. And you keep, and it kind of alters your concept, because you know, you do the adhkar in the morning, you're in the car, subhanallah, 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 astaghfirullah, 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 astaghfirullah. You do it when you're in the facility, you realize the whole thing, when you do it calmly, takes 15 minutes, 10 minutes, not much of your day. It's the mentality in your head that makes you feel like you're always in a rush in that regard. But the reason I throw all these things out is because there was something, I came back, and I finished just on this story. I came back, and sometimes, you know, people will come from a crowd and be like, Sami, you repeat the same examples in every single talk. So I said, khalas, let me go back to the books and see what other examples I could miss. You know, even in the Quran, I rediscovered ayat that are even better than the ayat that I use in the talks. So I'm going through Umar bin Khattab's story. The one where he goes, you know, to the women, he goes outside in the night and he finds the woman trying to hoodwink her kids to sleep by pretending to cook. And she says, Waylun ya Umar, like Umar is not looking after us. So, okay, I read it and it's wonderful. But then another thought hit me, which was maybe the point of the story is less about how Umar Khattab helped her and more about what Umar Khattab proactively did to see what was around him that he might be missing.
Yes.
He leaves his house to go, is there anything in the community that's happening that I need to know about? Sheikh Shadee, I've never done that. Like I never, like this place, I driven past it before on my way from Sacramento to Fresno, and I never noticed it. I never cared about it. I never looked at it. And I realized sometimes there's these things, I felt humiliated there, not because of what they did to me. I felt proud of that, you know, political prisoner. But I felt humiliated in that you look at these people and they were very keen to impress upon me. You're lucky there are people talking about you. You're lucky that you're not forgotten. You're lucky there are people speaking about you. If only people would speak about us the same way. And that's why I hope that more people at least visit and check it out and see maybe someone has a genius idea that can help get them out, inshallah.
So my next question is to you, like your future now. Are these types of prisoners going to be on your radar in the future?
You know, subhanAllah, I actually had a phone call with, so when the lawyers came to me from CARE, it was actually quite funny. They were trying to talk to me about my case. So I said to them, guys, before we start, these are the alien numbers of some of my fellow inmates. Could you please organize a meeting, sit with them and see if there's anything you can do to help their case? Denny Shemaev, 23-year-old Chechnyan, the judge has acknowledged he can't go back to Chechnya because Ramzan Kadyrov is sending Muslims to fight in Ukraine on behalf of Russia. And in Denny's words, why would I kill a Ukrainian when they've done nothing to me? And why would I go fight for Russia when it's bombing Muslims in Libya and Syria? Like it makes no sense. He said, I don't want to die a death of Jahiliyyah, he said. I don't want to be in that regard. Is there anything that you can do for him because they're delaying him going in front of the judge? And there is this guy, you know, there is Kanat Beg Ulu Almas Beg, Kanat Ibnu Almas. So Kanat's niece was raped by a police officer. They went to the police station to ask for an investigation. They covered that investigation, and then Kanat organized the protest. This is all like recorded on video. They beat up the protesters. He came with a bigger protest. They arrested him, threw him in a prison, beat him up, broke his shoulder, and then told him he has to turn up to court to answer for crimes against the state. He eventually finds a way to run away from Kyrgyzstan, arrives there, stuck in the facility. His wife is still, you know, his wife is out. They released her on humanitarian grounds that she has a child. He's stuck there struggling to provide for his family and can't even pay for a lawyer to get his case before a judge. And he knows that his case is something that will win. So I took those alien numbers and I went to Amina Fields, the lawyer from CARE. I said, Amina, please look at these cases and the like. CARE actually said to me that, look, these cases, maybe we can do it, but we also have concerns about funding and what. I told her, I'll find it. I'll go. You know, I've seen how these New Jersey guys raise. I've seen how these Californians raise. I've seen whatever. Just first ascertain which case you think is possible or not. And the reason why I'm pushing it is not just because I think those inmates deserve to be released. Ice can be broken. Sheikh Shadee, on my way back, when they were taking me to the airport so that I would fly home to London, they spent the 2.5-hour journey trying to give me sub stories about how hard ICE agents' lives are when they make other people's lives miserable. So 2.5 hours, when I finally got to the airport, the ICE agent looks at me and says, so you see, Mr. Hamdi, it's not like we wanted to treat you like a criminal. It was for our safety and our job is really hard. And, you know, we hope, you know, that you understand. And, you know, we also have a real cause that we're fighting for. I told him, don't worry, I'm going to tell the world everything. But the point is, because of that media pressure, because of people talking about it, because of people knowing about specific examples, in this case, it was my case, ICE felt the pressure. They felt that we know what we're doing is illegal. We need to be careful what this guy is going to say. We know what we're doing is wrong. If more people hear about it, we might be in trouble. And this is why some people thought I'm asking just for a charity or the like in helping these people. No, let's break the unaccountability that ICE enjoys at this moment in time. Let's break the illegality of what they're doing. And these are very credible cases you can use. Leqaa, Kordia in Texas, Marwan Marouf is a big one, and these others. If you guys could get me out, and I say you guys because Sheikh Shadee, may Allah reward you. You know, I've just been catching up on the past 2 weeks and I came across Safina Society's episode as well, you know, with Dili and the like, and Jazakum Allah al khair. Because sometimes I know it might feel like it was just an episode. The guards 3-4 days in, they started loosening my cuffs because they said, oh, it's the famous guy. Don't offend, be careful with this one. This one, everybody is talking about. It all I could hear the roar from within the cells themselves.
SubhanAllah.
But I think that if the ummah was able to move in this way, and I won't go on too long about this, but I want to give you just one anecdote about this. There is a brother called Marwan Najjar, AI genius from Bay Area that I met. He was the last visitor I had before I was released.
Mhm.
So I said to him, what's the reaction that I've taken the deal on behalf of the American government? They've come, they said no deportation, no removal order. We'll let you go back home and come back to America, you know, like after 6-7 months, apply for a visa. So Marwan Najjar said to me that one of the most interesting WhatsApps I'm finding from the community is people are saying, oh, wait a minute, we actually did it. Oh, wait a minute, we actually got him out. Oh, wait a minute, pressure actually works. And I'm hoping that that realization that the ummah always has khair in it, that its Lord is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and therefore it's capable of extraordinary things at every moment in time, that maybe if you apply that sort of same pressure for those who are also madhlumeen in these places, imagine how many innocents you can get out and how you can change the whole structure.
Could you tell us about Leqaa Kordia, her background, why is she in jail in the first place, and what's happening to her in jail?
So Leqaa Kordia, she was here on a student visa. She was detained by ICE afterwards, and then a judge ruled twice that she is to be released. So the judge looked at the facts of the case. The judge ascertained that Leqaa should not be in a detention facility, that she should be released. And the federal judge said it first time and then repeated it a second time when ICE refused to release them. The conditions that she has, bear in mind, she's in Texas. So I was in California, and I remember when there was a suggestion, I won't go into details, I already mentioned it in the Middle East Eye podcast and in the Thinking Muslim podcast, but when there was the suggestion I might be transferred, all the inmates said, oh my God, they might be taking you to Texas. Don't let them take you to Texas. Texas is the worst. Texas is the worst facility. Leqaa Kordia is in that Texas facility, the one they describe as the worst. Leqaa Kordia, when she asked for clothes that could cover her aura so she could pray, they refused to give her those clothes. The guards who come in to look after the facilities, they're not all females. Some of them are males and they enter unannounced, and they don't give her time to put on the hijab whereby she can actually preserve her religious freedoms. And when she complains about it, they tell her, shut up and go back to your bunk. They don't even provide it in that regard. When that treatment came to the judge said that, listen, this lady should be released. They ignored it. And this is what ICE do. So ICE have these bureaucratic tactics by which they detain you even if a judge rules in your favor. And I give you just two examples. There was a guy with us in California. His name was Emmanuel from Texas, married to a US citizen. Emmanuel went to the court and the judge ruled that Emmanuel has legitimate reason to be here in the United States and the like. ICE, instead of releasing him, in the interim period before he's going to go see his judge on, I think he's seen a judge 17 November. I haven't got the update on his case. ICE in the interim period, they refused to release him. What they did was they said, okay, we can't send him to Congo. Let's call the Ghanaian embassy. Maybe we can get Ghana to take him instead. So there's a guy called Almabek. He was from Kyrgyzstan. He owned 3 restaurants and a hotel. New president, smashes the businesses. He flees to the United States, applies for asylum. The court rules his asylum claim is legitimate. Release the guy. ICE keep him detained for 30 extra days. He's still in detention because they're trying to find, they're looking on a map, what other countries are there in the area that we can send him to, because ICE want to go to the judge and say that he left on his own. And what it is, you realize it's a mental match in which they say, we know you might have a legitimate case, ya Leqaa Kordia, but we're going to keep you here till you break. And we're going to break you until you beg to sign a deportation order so that you say you're guilty. Sheikh Shadee, for me, when they said to me, you're being detained, and they refused to let me see a lawyer, they kept pushing a paper in my face saying, if you want to go home, just sign this. If you want to go home, just sign this. I'm like, what am I signing? And it says, I am guilty as charged of overstaying in the United States of America. I said, guys, I didn't overstay. Yeah. But if you sign it, you get to go home. And this is what they do. They keep you there. They subvert the process, hoping that Leqaa is going to sign and be deported and the like. Leqaa is a case of a grave tragedy of injustice. And what I've been saying to the journalists, and I finish on this point, is that yes, there's a lot of reports on ICE detaining people. There's not enough reports on how they subvert the law and how they treat those inmates. There's not enough case studies about Leqaa Kordia and Marwan Marouf. And I think that somebody in the community who works for some of these news agencies should make this a priority, because I think if you're able to break this kind of institution, you'll have a domino effect, and it will be the latest in the growing defeats for the extreme Israeli lobby, which is trying to wield it against the pro-Palestinian activism.
Yeah. And Leqaa got into jail, or they got on the radar, sorry, because of being an activist on campus. Is that what the issue was?
Yeah, so she joined the protests outside of Columbia, holding the placards and joining the protests and demanding an end to the genocide. And somebody had taken a picture of her, identified her, and then they grabbed her and then they put it in the facility. The point is that the courts acknowledge. So there is a very important case. There's a group of students versus Marco Rubio. 2 months ago, the judge ruled that Palestinian advocacy cannot be punished in that way. So the State Department lost in that regard, which is why the law is heavily in favor of Leqaa Kordia. Her only crime, between quotation marks, is joining those Columbia protests. A lot of the students have been released because Mahmoud Khalil, high-profile case. Mohsen Mehdawi, high-profile case. Rumaysa Ozturk, first the Turks raised awareness for her because they felt a personal offense because she's Turk, and the community also raised awareness for her as well, and she got released. Raise awareness for Leqaa, she'll be released. Raise awareness for Marwan Marouf, he'll be released. And this is the point that I say, that what they're doing is illegal. Getting her out is legal, but it requires people to stand up and really shout very loud that this is what should happen. The judges are heavily on their side. The judge rules she should be released. The problem is ICE trying to subvert them. And I imagine if Leqaa is put in front of a judge again, the judge will express anger and order her released again, but ICE are delaying her going in front of a judge for fear that the judge might actually impose punitive measures on ICE.
You know what you did with your podcast with the Thinking Muslim is change the conversation on whether or not illegal immigrants have these rights to stay, because that's how they made it. They made the argument on, well, if he's illegal, he should leave, right?
Yeah.
Now the argument is the abuses that are happening. Even if the guy was illegal, that doesn't justify all the abuse that's happening to the person, let alone the cases that aren't actually illegal. They're more like Zionist cases against people speaking about Palestine. But what you did, at least for me, was that it shifted the conversation on not on whether or not the concept of deporting an illegal immigrant is right, because you're not going to win that one. If someone's illegal, they're illegal. But it's now, how are they doing it? And then how abusive is the system? And then these mind games that they're playing. You mentioned they'll make one edit to the file. That's another 2 months.
4 days or 2 months or 3 months. In Antonio's case, 3 months.
3 months delay on changing a file. Now you go like back to the beginning until the guy breaks. So So in the overall picture, you're bringing a lot of damnation on yourself with all this evil that they're doing, right? Even if you entered it legally. Yep.
And even the mentality, like I told the story of Thinking Muslim, but there's no harm repeating it here. When I arrived at the facility, there were 2 Indians and a Latino in front of me being checked in. So the lady says to the Latino guy who's checking him in, the lady says, "Where are you from?" And he says as a joke, "I'm from Afghanistan." And she gets angry and she goes, "Your people want to kill my people." And we're like, "What?" And she says, "Yes, your people, they want to kill Americans." And I went, "Ma'am, that's categorically not true." And the Latino guy is panicking. "No, mi amigo, mi Mexico, no Afghanistan." But it gives you an indication of the mentality of the guards who are looking after you. I remember, because guards were mixed. You know, you have some guards, deep sympathy in their eyes, and some guards were looking for a fight. I remember one guard in particular, I won't mention him by name, used to walk into the facility and intentionally look for beef with the inmates. You know, "Get back to your bunk." The guy would walk and he'd be like, "Walking slow, go on, what are you gonna do? Come on, big boy." And you're like, whoa, guy, leave him alone. Like, what are you doing? Like, look, you know, and you could see the way that mentality, in the way that they are really crumbling. And the thing that broke my heart the most was those who've been there 9-10 months, a lot of them are on mental health pills. Because they're like, "I'm stuck." It's like, at least put me in front of a court. Yes, Sheikh Shadee, there was an Uzbek individual. He was a lecturer at university. He'd been there 1 year, 1 month. Eventually, he signed a deportation order. Before he signed it, everybody told him, "Alisha, your case is strong. You can win it." "I'm just sick and tired. I just want to get out of this." They broke him, and they were so happy when he signed that particular sheet. That's unjust. No one should have to go through that.
Yeah. Marwan Marouf. Tell us about him.
Marwan
People don't
Marouf,
know these names. You mentioned these names a couple of times. We need to hear their biographies.
Marwan Marouf was the head of Mass Dallas and the extraordinary community member for at least 30 years. The irony is that Marwan Marouf used to be the guy that community members used to go to when they had immigration problems or legal problems or when they had problems that they needed to go to meet their representatives. You're talking about an upstanding citizen of America, even though he didn't have the citizenship, even though his family, they have the citizenship, but he doesn't. And he went to an appointment to update details with regards to a green card and the like. And then they arrested him at that appointment. When they took him through, he said, what are the charges? And in the end, they started bringing up links to the Holy Land Foundation because his wife is related to somebody, But it was added to it when they couldn't find anything on him. It was added on top of it. And now he's being dragged in that regard. With Marwan Marouf, his case is strong because of the long service that he's given to the community in the US itself. But I think with Marwan Marouf, it's a targeting of his Palestinian activism. There is a desire, particularly in Texas, and you've seen with Greg Abbott how he's tried to announce that CARE is a terrorist organization, to try to strike fear. So they went after one of the most beloved members of the community in the hope that if we can get him, then all of these Muslims in Texas will shut up, stay in their masajid. They won't speak about Palestine anymore. They won't lobby. They won't apply pressure. You remember Epic Masjid came under heavy pressure, and then the Attorney General investigated and found no breach of law whatsoever. Everything was legitimate. He told them, continue on, carry on as you are. When they couldn't get Epic Masjid, they went after Marwan Marouf. And they went after Yaqub as well. Yaqub, who is a filmmaker. And I tell you just about Yaqub because it links to Marwan Marouf. Marwan Marouf was targeted for his advocacy and they're trying to scare the community. Yaqub attended my event in Dallas, the last event I gave in Dallas before I was arrested. He's a filmmaker. So Yaqub was applying for bond and they went in front of a judge and there was optimism that the judge might rule in favor of the bond. The judge said that because he had retweeted a free Afia Siddiqui tweet, then that was deep cause for concern of the community. We need to keep him detained in the facility, which is absolute nonsense, which is absolutely ridiculous in that regard. But my argument with Marwan Marouf in particular is, it's not Marwan Marouf being targeted, it's the community that is being targeted. And if people can understand it in this way, then galvanizing for Marwan Marouf, who's actually supposed to have his hearing today, I need to go and find out from my wife what the hearing actually said. If you can stand with someone like Marwan Marouf, it will deter ICE from coming after these people. And the reason why I say that is this. First, they came after US citizens, including naturalized ones like Mehdi Hassan. Let's remove his passport. Let's go after American Muslims for Palestine in Michigan. The case was dropped. Then they went after American Muslims for Palestine, Nevada. Case was dropped. The judge was bewildered. He said, I don't get it. They expressed an opinion and you got offended. This is America. Get out of here. Then they went after green card holders, Mahmoud Khalil, and they still haven't been able to deport him. They failed. They're being thwarted at every turn. Then they thought, let's go after student visas. So they went after Muhsin Mahdi and Rumaysa, and they failed. Then they thought, oh my God, what do we do? We're not getting any success. Oh, there's a guy on a B1, B2 visa called Sami Hamdi. Let's go after him as well. And they failed even to get me in that regard. I want the community, when they hear about Leqaa and Marwan, not to be scared. Their aim is for you to be scared. They don't have anything on Marwan. They can't get Marwan on anything. But what they're hoping is that you abandon Marwan. What they're hoping is that you flee from Marwan. What they're hoping is that Leqaa doesn't get uttered on your lips because you're scared that you will be next. I want to tell people, don't be scared. The judges are on your side because the law is on your side. ICE will try to derail you from going in front of a judge. But in my case, it was clear that they could have kept me 6 months. But because of your voices, because you wouldn't let them forget Sami Hamdi, I was released within 2 weeks. Imagine what you could do for these people. And that's why I encourage people to reach out to the family of Marwan Marouf, to those who are part of his campaign. Whatever you can do to help him, don't doubt your ability to pressure and make that change. The government made a deal with me. They forget what they were saying publicly. Forget what they're saying about Marwan Marouf publicly. Ya Sheikh Shadee, they came to me on the Thursday and said, my lawyer said it's unprecedented in his 22 years of immigration. He said, we can never reach a government lawyer. The fact that they're chasing us, phone call, text message, email, means they don't believe they have a case. And the lawyer came and said, listen, Mr. Hamdi, we know you want to go home. Can we just make it easy? We'll remove this, we'll remove that. They're aware that they don't have a case. Believe in your capacity to make that change. And Marwan, inshallah, will be out soon.
Curiosity, Leqaa was a student visa. Marwan, what kind of visa was he?
Marwan was green card. as far as I'm aware.
Okay, so green card, they could just is it revocable without charge
It's
or what?
revocable. Green card is revocable, but there's a debate about whether you can revoke the green card, which is why Mahmoud Khalil's case is still going through the courts. They can't get Mahmoud Khalil. They're trying to go after Marwan Marouf.
What can a person do practically?
I think the first thing that is important is the reason I gave the example of Umar al-Khattab is because what I found when I was out of action is there's a lot of talent in the community and everybody came to present that talent. Nick came, expert in the press. Amina Fields, expert in law. Hussam Ailoush, expert in organization. Those who had money, experts in donations and mobilizing and the like. Those who knew how to engage with representatives, Rawkhana's office sent me a letter saying, please give me permission to speak on your behalf. It's about where do your talents particularly lie. But if anybody's unsure what they should be doing, then go and learn about these cases and go and learn those particular details, because then you'll find where you fit in that overall cause. Go and offer your services and ask, what do you need me for? Don't be arrogant and say, I need to be here. Just let me offer any service that I have. This is what I think I can do, and I will go along and support you in that regard. And have faith in that the community welcomes these efforts. Yesterday, I said to my wife, I said to her, Sumaya, all these people who helped me on a volunteer basis, and they were phenomenal. I'm panicking. She said, why are you panicking? I said, how can I repay them? Should I pay them? Should I give them financial compensation? And she went, what a jahil. He still doesn't understand why they helped him. She doesn't understand. He doesn't understand why they came out for him. He doesn't understand that they came out for the cause. لا نريد منكم جزاء ولا شكورا. We are not asking for any reward or thanks. We did this because it's the right thing. Love your ummah, love your community, love what they're capable of, love their sincerity, love their hearts, and believe that they can be good. And love that Allah can send that support that you need. That's not a vague answer if you actually listen to it. Everybody knows their talents, but go to these people, offer your talents, and let them place you where they think you are best. And you will find you are part of an irresistible movement where people were lobbying from you from Jakarta, from Kuala Lumpur, from Ankara, from Doha, from London, from Paris, from within the State Department, from California, from New Jersey. It was phenomenal. It was an irresistible pressure that brought it. And I finish on this point. I was on Sunday, I went to play football, 7-a-side with the brothers that I play with, a bunch of doctors. So they said to me, I remember one of them remarked, and he said, I was so heartbroken, but I realized I'm not political. I don't know what to do. So brother Sami, I just went on your YouTube videos and just started cutting up clips and uploading it on Twitter. And I've only got 100 followers, but then people started retweeting it. Like people with big accounts, they were like, actually, this is a good clip. This is a brother who did ijtihad. Like, let me just do whatever it is that I can do. And he said, and he was like, he said to me, I can't believe it. We actually did it, and I feel like I was part of it, Sami.
SubhanAllah.
Seek that, and I think you will find what you're looking for.
Hussam Abu Safiya, his story.
His story is absolutely tragic. Arrested by the Israelis just for providing healthcare to those Palestinians, put in prison, suffering in abominable conditions. All the human rights reports will give you all the details of his conditions, but the Israelis have been trying to suffocate any news or headlines related to Hussam Abu Safiya, and it's still a tragedy that not everybody knows his name. He's a sophisticated doctor, and just so you know why he was targeted, I spoke to a doctor who went to Gaza to work, Palestinian doctor, and he said when the Israelis arrested Hussam Abu Safiya, the reason they went for him was they're trying to strip away the senior doctors who are experts in their fields so that we minor doctors are unable to provide the quality of service, so that the Israelis can say that we're not debilitating the medical infrastructure. Look, these doctors are still serving, but the reality is we as doctors don't know what we're supposed to be doing because the likes of Hussam Abu Safiya, who know how we're supposed to be used, aren't being deployed. The reason they can't kill Hussam Abu Safiya is because there's enough people talking about him. But his life is at risk if we forget him. And it's not just Hussam Abu Safiya. There's a guy called Muhammad Ali, 16-year-old American citizen who's been detained by the Israelis, who is Palestinian by ethnicity, who is there and where the State Department are hesitant about making a big deal out of him. If you can go to the American population and tell them about these individuals, that they should be released, that even Americans have no rights in those Israeli prisons. If you can believe in the fitrah of ordinary Americans to be able to see their hearts change in that regard, you can actually bring about a change, particularly in the Trump administration, where Trump follows polls, not ideology. Biden followed ideology. Whatever the Democrat base said, I'm supporting the Israelis. Trump, and this is, I remember with Norman Finkelstein when we were in New Jersey, I asked him, what do you think is going to happen next? Or somebody asked him. And he said, with Trump, I don't know. Under Harris and Biden and previous presidents, they always operated on Palestine within the framework that Israel allowed them to operate. But Trump just wants a Nobel Peace Prize and wants to be high in the polls and wants to be celebrated like Obama is celebrated. So we don't know what he's going to do, but for the first time, neither do the Zionists. And that for me is what gives me optimism in that in the chaos, no one is in control. What I mean is, you don't know what could happen under this Trump administration. It could well be you create such a momentum amongst the Americans where they say, oh my God, how is an American citizen in a prison in Israel? This is so horrible. Who are you to do that to an American? And Trump says, actually, this is actually quite true. Get him out now. Get him out. The same way you impose that ceasefire. What I mean is, even if you lack the imagination of how that change can be brought about, believe that Allah already knows how it will be done. Just move and let Allah put everything else into place.
Would you happen to know which community Hussam Abu Safiya was part of?
I'm not entirely sure, to be honest, but you can find that online. If you search Hussam Abu Safiya, is one of the...
Oh, you froze up.
And I think in that regard, those who research him, there are people more talented than I am who will be able to provide more direct answers about what can be done. And I think in this regard, you know, my message to the community is please just move, find the information. And if you know where I can be deployed, deploy me in that regard.
So when someone gets arrested by ICE, is there court case with one judge the entire time?
It's supposed to be with one judge until they transfer you somewhere else. And when they transfer you somewhere else, you have a new judge. So the reason they try to relocate you to Texas, Florida, Louisiana, is they believe those judges will find you guilty. They don't want you in California or these other places or these areas. So they try to change your judge and they try to make sure you don't have a favorable judge. And many of these cases hinge on the judge.
Because I'm trying to think, like, how would you even start? Like, who would you even talk to?
I think first and foremost, CARE, we are feeding CARE a lot of the different cases that I saw in the inmates, and CARE are aware of some of them. So CARE can start with identifying the individuals themselves. The second point is there's a number of organizations, including the likes of Words of Justice, who have template letters that people can use to write on behalf of the inmates to send to their local congressman. If you get tens of thousands of letters going, that congressman then raises the case of the inmate at Congress themselves. The third thing is this requires funding for lawyers to pay attention to these particular cases. CARE are fundraising for some of these lawyers as we speak, so it's worth looking at what CARE are doing and what they need in that particular instance. And fourth, some imams have actually started visiting some of these inmates to learn more about their stories so they can carry them back to their community to really target certain cases that they're able to address. And fifth, write to your local papers, write to Los Angeles Times, New York Times, and these others, because the overwhelming emails that you'll get will force a journalist to actually go in and uncover those details, creating that media pressure. These are just 5 very basic strands that somebody might find themselves going in. And the sixth thing I would say is imams on the minbar that not just talk about what someone can do spiritually, but practical action, what they can do practically. And I think stories like Umar al-Khattab going into the streets and encouraging people to do this as well, to find it, like your soup kitchen story, which is so profound and deep in that you did it and you appreciated it, but appreciated it more when you got to be amongst the people who you were serving. That makes a big difference. That's the difference between a khatib saying, remember the poor, and a khatib saying, remember the poor, remember the poor. It makes a huge difference in that regard. I think if we step up in this, we can make a phenomenal change.
Who did you deal with on the American side that was on the higher up, and what department was it? Was it ICE or was it the Justice Department or what?
ICE were the ones who arrested me. The lawyers were liaising with the lawyer of the Department of Homeland Security. I heard later that there were a few movements within the State Department to try to make things much easier, but I was in the cell. I didn't deal with anybody. I had to stay there within those 4 walls and leave my entire fate in the hands of people that, you know, I'm glad that they were experts and it was the right people to place their hands in. But there's something that is both humiliating and refreshing at the same time in being out of action. humiliating in that I have no power over what's happening to me. So I'm no longer, you know, in a car going to different masajid, talking to lawyers and the like and trying to make things move. But refreshing in that, alhamdulillah, Allah is the one who's in charge and looking after all of these affairs. I'm in the best hands. This is the moment where it's out of my hands and I need to show Allah that I can be patient and that I can thank Allah for everything, even though I feel like I'm out of action. And maybe, my wife likes to stress this point, that maybe I was in that cell to learn about these particular stories, that there's no such thing as a Muslim wasting 2 weeks. It wasn't a waste of 2 weeks. I was immersed in a world that I wish I discovered earlier. And I hope Allah uses me as a vehicle to make that world easier for them.
All right, your future. You are allowed back in the US. So let me be the first person to invite you to our masjid. Okay.
Inshallah, now this is on record.
Yeah, you've been here before. You've been to our masjid before.
I have.
So you're going to give it 6, 7 months. Now, your wife is going to let you go?
Inshallah, I'll bring her with me as well. You know, the Americans are wonderful in that regard. Yeah. But I think, you know, I was telling Dilly earlier, he asked me a similar question. And I said to him, people often talk about career paths like they are, you know, like a linear, you know, they go higher and higher. But my theory is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only one who knows the unknown and what will happen. And the irony is that I did a podcast with Hussam Shurafa in Canada. And I completely forgot this, but he asked me in the end, what do you think is coming next? And I said to him that, you know, I don't know if what's coming next is his or prison. Only Allah knows. And my theory is that I think life is 6 or 7 chapters. If you pass 4 out of the 7, you enter Jannah. That Allah gives you different chapters and He equips you with different skills and talents, or He takes away some skills and talents and resources and sees how you will adapt in that chapter. When you are in izz, how do you conduct yourself? When I take it away, how do you conduct yourself? If I put you in prison, you're telling people Ummah has khair. Do you believe in it? Let me put you 2 weeks in the prison and see if you still have the same attitudes in that regard. When you ask what's next in the future, I told a friend, I'm scared of what's coming, not because I think it's going to be bad, but stakes are higher and I don't know. I mean, it feels like storm and storm and storm, and Allah has helped me to get through it. I'm hoping that if I pass the previous chapter, Allahumma, please let me get through the next chapter and let me get through the chapter. Allahumma, I don't ask whether I will be this sort of great hero success. I just ask that I'm used as a vehicle in any role whatsoever, and that whatever hardships come my way, I'm equipped to get through that hardship. Allahumma, don't let me be somebody who buckles and leaves, because I know the story of the Mujahid who on his death, you know, when he's so close, his wounds are so great, he decides to kill himself and he's condemned to Jahannam. I know those stories and I don't believe myself better than these individuals. Rather, these days, I no longer plan for the future per se, but what I say is, Allahumma, what's coming, I accept. Just if you're going to make it come, equip me to be able to ride through it and still say La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah at the end of it.
You said one time that a lot of people like your political analysis until you begin to speak about divinity and belief and Allah and sabr. But you can't be active in the world without these things. Otherwise,
100%.
Another power is what's going to dictate your action, including people's personal power, love of rage, love of anger, or love of hate. And so in this imprisonment of yours probably strengthened that belief that you can't not be an activist without a religion. You have to have strong, deep roots. Otherwise, you can become really bitter. Like you could have come out of there full of more rage and more anger rather than full of gratitude, full of more wisdom, understanding things.
I always argue, in my opinion, that belief in Allah is easy, submission to Allah is hard. Shaitan knows Allah exists with yaqeen, but he was angry at the role Allah assigned for him. And we always think that's just shaitan phenomenon. But how many of us, when Allah gives us a role in life, we dream of other roles and we are ungrateful for the role Allah gave us in society at that particular moment with the resources that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us? How many of us look at that role and say, Allahumma, I want to be Shadee, I want to be Yasir Fahmi, I don't want to be the guy who's just driving, people to the airport or that kind of thing. A sort of ingratitude in that regard. And the reason I base that ingratitude and arrogance, it's Allahumma, why do you have to be the main character of the story? I want to be the main character of the story. Why is it I have to be majhoolan fil ardh, where I don't get celebrated for my efforts and the like? It's almost like you say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allahumma, I'm upset at the pace of your event. I'm upset at your pace of the events. I know what the pace should be like. I know how Palestine should be liberated. I know what should be done in that way. People think that it sounds from Iman, but in reality, it sounds closer to kufr. You know, when people say, and I always had this issue when people say, oh, but Sami, the Zionists and the Zionists, they have the money, they have the this and whatever. I tell them, objectively, maybe you're right. But why do your voices sound more like the hypocrites who told the believers, Inna nasa qad jama'u lakum fakhshawhum, rather than the Sahaba who said, Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel? Why do your words sound more like hypocrites who said, oh, look at how powerful they are, and you look how weak we are? But the Sahaba said, so what if they have the money and the like? We have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, let's go. And that's the point that I make here, in that you cannot do this without a surrender to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that whatever happens is the best thing that Allah planned. And you may plan, but Allah's plan is always better. And I finish with this story just before Maghrib leaves me. I finish with this story. When they offered me the deal, I wasn't sure whether to take it or not. I knew it's a victory, but I thought, how can I push it even further? So I was pacing up and down. My family were like, come home, take the deal. And a brother called Ismail, Bengali brother, says to me, Brother Sami, today you're not smiling. Is this place getting to you? And I said to him, Wallahi, I've been offered a deal, but I'm just not sure whether to take it or not. And he said, Brother Sami, it's a no-brainer. They wanted to take away your voice, and as long as you're here, your voice is gone. Go to London, get your voice back, and then come back.
SubhanAllah.
I said, yeah, but he said to me, are you worried about a dignified departure? I said, I am thinking a little bit about that. He said, but the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when they took his voice away from Mecca, he had to flee from Mecca and go to Medina to get his voice back. And then he came back later in full glory. It doesn't matter the manner of your departure. Go to your Medina, get your voice, and come back to America in glory. Unless you think you're better than the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I took the phone, yeah, Sheikh Shadee. I called my lawyers. I said, Wallah, take the deal, take the deal. Wallahi, wallah. If you don't have that framework and that guidance, you will get lost in pride and arrogance. And I'm happy
100%.
that Allah so far at least allows me to remember him day and night. And I hope Allah allows me to do so until my dying breath.
Inshallah, we want to initiate and launch off of what you experienced to help some of these other people get their freedom back, get back to their families, especially the sister. Not that any injustices are different, but just imagine if your wife was in jail.
Yeah.
With strangers. Just imagine if your daughter was in jail, right? It can't be accepted. So if you don't like it for your own family, you shouldn't like it for someone else's family. That's one of the meaning. The Muslims is like one body. Right, you're not going to say, okay, my right hand, right, burn it. I got my left hand, right? So, I think that should be one of the lessons that we take from this. We launch pad from your experience that got on everyone's radar, to now we could focus the same energy on some of these people who are less known, and get them some help too. So, final word, as you said, as that Bengali brother told you, the Prophet ﷺ left, got his voice back, came back. So I'm going to reiterate for you, inshallah, when you come back, your first stop,
inshallah.
You're already friends with Sheikh Yasir Fahmy, but I did the official first invitation, right? First invitation back to the US. Okay.
He's going to call me after and hang me for it, but yeah.
Inshallah. Inshallah.
I'm looking forward to it. May Allah bless you, Sheikh Shadee.
Ameen.
And I say this openly in front of everybody. If you come up with a plan and you want to deploy me in anything, use me. And may Allah use all of us, inshallah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin.
Sounds good. Jazakallah khairan. Thank you very much.
Take care, Azizi. Allah yahfadak. Barakallah.
Barakallah feek. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So we're serious about this. It can't be accepted. I have a Muslim sister in jail, and they take her clothes sometimes. The Umar Suleiman told us that before. How can that be accepted? Right? Just think if it happened to your daughter, you wouldn't sleep. If it happened to your wife, you wouldn't rest a day without taking some action. Hacking away at the mountain in front of you or at the wall in front of you, you're hacking away. I think that's what we have to do. Now, it's not to say that the other brothers, Marwan Marouf, his case needs to be brought out. Hussam Abu Safiya, he's in Israel, but he's American citizen, but he's in Israel. That's probably maybe a little bit harder. Okay. But something's got to be done. Something's got to be done with Leqaa's case. And I think that'll be the next guest. If somebody can find out for us, someone who can suggest for us, send us at info@safinasociety.org. What can be done? Who could we talk to? Judge, some bureaucrat in DHS, Department of Homeland Security. Something's got to be done. That's the point. And If we can mobilize everyone and get another success, that'll be, I mean, someone said Afia Siddiqui 20 years. I'm not 100% familiar with her case, but well, what was she charged and found guilty of a case? So she's a different case in the sense that it's yeah. So her case is harder because you have to overturn a verdict. That's a hard thing to do. You know, the only way to overturn a verdict is usually if there was a crime, you find the actual criminal. That's how that lawyer group does it. What's that lawyer group called again? They basically go to people who are in jail for murder or something. Then they find the actual person who did it through DNA evidences, and that's the easiest way to flip a case. Yeah, lawyers and forensics and all that. But Leqaa's case, she's on a student visa, he said. So either you send her back or you send her back or you release her. Either one or the other. Range Cleary said you need to get Range Cleary is saying you need to talk to CARE. Right. We need someone to bring on. Send us an email at info@safinasociety.org, and we'll also do our own research to see what can be done. Right, because there's got to be a lot of good that comes from Sami Hamdi's release. And one thing he spoke about, which again, I didn't repeat the same questions that Muhammad Jadad gave, that would have made no sense. But you have to listen to his interview there. It was really good. It was embarrassing, he said, for him. Just to think like, nobody remembers these other people. And he mentioned a lot of people. He mentioned a lot of people who weren't even Muslim that were helping him and became friends with him in those 2 weeks that he was in jail. SubhanAllah, being in jail, I mean, someone once friend told me, go into your bathroom and close the door on yourself and leave your phone outside. Set your alarm for 15 minutes. Anyone's got 15 minutes in the day, right? Go to the bathroom, put your phone outside the door, enter the door and lock the door. And don't get out until the alarm goes off. See how you're going to feel. You're literally going to go crazy. All right, couple Q&A. Let's take a couple Q&A before, plus we're ready to go. Only 20 minutes to departure. You got your luggage? You going Umrah in sweatpants? Sweatpants generation. If I see you in sweatpants in Masjid al-Nabawi or Masjid Haram, what do I need? I got a slipper. That slipper is coming off. The sword. Sweatpants. It better be to the plane only. Who, you have an older brother? But only you're going. Well done. Well done. This is a young man named Yusuf from my class on Thursdays. Now he's coming with us to Umrah. Then there are twins coming, 2 other Egyptian twins coming, 2 sisters from the class is coming. So we got 5 of the youth. And then there's more. There's a whole plane coming tomorrow, flying out tomorrow. It's Umrah for youth. Okay. All right, listen up, folks. Any other questions? Brother Yaqub Viandre in Texas. So he's been taken by ICE. The thing is, the conversation was always about, well, they're illegal, they should leave. Okay, fine. How are you doing it is the question, right? How are you doing this? That's the question. Now, all these abuses are going to be a seriously dark stain. Not that America, is a white cloth or in the first place. But it's a serious it's a dark stain. You're doing something that, yeah, you may have the legal right to enter into that field. But what are you doing with the people afterwards is the question. That's where the dark stain is, in the dark cloud. Some say, why do Muslims always wear a white cap? Anthony Gloria. Anthony Gloria has been around. You've been around, right, Anthony, on this stream? He's one of the people who aren't Muslim, but they're regulars on the stream. I see this name, unless there's someone with a similar name. You don't have to wear a white cap as a Muslim, but it's from the ways of prophets that they've always covered their heads. And sometimes yes, sometimes no. There is literally no situation in which you're obligated to wear a white cap or any cap or any turban. But it's something that is what we consider a light recommendation in certain times, right? In certain times. For example, when a person is going to give a speech, which we call the Jumu'ah khutbah, then it's preferable to have to cover his head. Why? So he could fulfill these lighter sunan. Can I wear a bright red one? You can wear any color that is not a color that is unbecoming for some reason or other. Feminine, for example, or shi'ar fisq. For example, the rainbow right now, it still has a connotation to some people, to most people. So that's still going to be an issue for us. Right now, if you came and walked in America and you wore a yellow scarf, no one's really going to think anything about that. But in India, that's actually the mark of their religion, that color. Am I right about that? Or, oh, sorry, red. Okay, but it's red, right? The red scarf is still their symbol. In the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him, it was the orangey yellow garment that was both a feminine color considered, and it was the color of their pagan priests. Yeah, that orangey reddish color. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has forbidden us to wear garments that would look like another group. Now, if time passes and that's no longer the association, then khalas, you can wear it. No problem. Thuba says, when we have enemies, we all have to be awliya in training. We all have to be awliya in training. We all have to remember Allah all the time. We have to learn Sharia and fiqh and follow it as best as we can. And someone like Sami Hamdi, the reason that he got the success that he had was it because of his personality, the way he speaks? Is it his education? It's the truth. That's why. Okay, when you speak the truth, and it's something that he happens to be good at, and now it becomes an issue. It's an issue in the world, but he spoke the truth. That's the key. That anytime that you look at someone who's hot or strong or on fire, the skills that they're employing, they had those skills in the past. It's just now they're speaking the truth. And it may have touched a nerve, right? For anybody. I'm not saying for him, but it touched a nerve. So you're speaking the truth with emotion. Okay. We all have to be awliya in training. Range Glears, he says, I have an idea, but it's difficult to get people involved. If everyone donates a small amount of money to CARE, Dr. Afia's legal team, together we are unstoppable. So get us someone who can talk about these things. Get us someone to talk about Afia Siddiqui. We can research that too. Yeah, go find them. We talk to everyone here. And just to make it clear for everybody, we're going to be opening up. We already started opening up to talk to a lot of different people. Now, on the one hand, I do have to sort of be polite to them because I'm the host. I can't debate someone. I can't invite someone and debate them, right? Unless that's acceptable in social media. I don't know. Yeah, sometimes maybe they want to. But it doesn't mean that we stand for everything. I'm telling you, for now and for the future, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're in agreement with everything that they said in the past, or even say on the stream, right? I may gently push back, gently ask a question, right? Just as I did 2 days ago with Dr. Jones. So I said, look, you're against identity politics. We're against it too. Identity politics is like tribalism. But you keep saying the Jews. Well, it's not acceptable for us, right? But I said, what do you mean by that? He clarified, no, it's people acting for their state in another state. Okay. Well, and I mentioned this too before, that also is not an issue. If I'm Argentinian, I'm in America, I'm getting rich, I'm going to help Argentina. What's wrong with that? The question is, to the detriment of America or not? That's the question. I can go right now and move to Turkey. Let's say I'm an Egyptian. I move to Turkey, make a lot of money. I go help Egypt. No, that's not an issue at all. There's no law against that, and there's no immorality against it. The question is, to the detriment, meaning, am I ignoring the people or not? That's the behavior. That's the problem. That's the behavior. That's the issue. Okay. That's the behavior. That's the issue. One Up keeps saying, where can I get some Maliki style drip? I don't think there's a group of people that had more style than Andalus and Morocco, right? Like, the clothes and building design of Andalus and Morocco is akin to the food of Pakistan, right? Remember I said earlier before, like, if we're going to have a worldwide Olympics on food, that's maybe the only gold medal Pakistan's winning, right? All right, maybe they're going to win cricket too, right? But they're winning that gold medal. And javelin. But that's the one thing they went. Now, shift over to clothes and shift over to buildings. It's Andalus and Morocco. There's not even a question about it. Except one thing now. We will not anymore use the Andalusian geometrics. Too overused. They're so overused, right? No more. Anyone who just puts up a masjid doesn't think, oh, let's put some Andalusian geometry. I went to a masjid one time. I counted, because we're building a masjid now, right? So I wanted to compare. And I'm starting to look more closely. I already look closely because of my art history background, which is a pain. If you study art and architecture, it hurts to see what people do in the world, right? If you study graphic design, it hurts. It injures you to see how bad certain things are. So anyway, I'm at this one masjid. I could tell you that in 11 different spots, they put those Andalusian geometrics. Or that star that goes like that. I'm like, it's on the minbar, it's on the rug, it's on the wall, it's on the door as a decal. It's everywhere. It's too much. It's become played out. And I made it a statement, and our masjid, we agreed, because, you know, I'm not a dictator in the masjid. Sometimes I would like to be, but I'm not. Actually, I wouldn't like to be. It's not good. It's not good for the group. It's not good for anything, for yourself or for the group. You close out really good ideas and you stifle people. But anyway, I said, I'm suggesting here, actually, I'm saying, no more Andalusian geometrics. Enough. It's so overplayed right now. We can't do it. Right? We're not doing it. Yeah. Alia Ayubi Mujaddidi is an Afghan, says, Afghan food is better. I'll tell you what Afghan food is. Desi meets Arab. That's Afghan food. Right? It's Desi meets Arab. Please do an podcast with Clive Stafford Smith. Could you please kindly look him up, please? Okay. Clive, I'm going to say it again. We're about to have open the door for our guests to be able to talk to the non-Muslim world out there. We always have been pretty much more or less focused only on dais and shuyukh. But again, you have someone on does not necessarily mean that we stand up for everything that they have to say. I'm just telling you that from the beginning. Okay. All right, Clive Stafford. Heard this name before. I think it's a cool name, right? Clive Stafford Smith. That's a great name. Do a podcast with Jeff Lawton. All right, let's get that name on there. Okay. Colin? Who's Colin? Colin from Carrot. Let's get that in another name. Okay. Guantanamo Bay. All right, we have to get that name. Brothers for Life is messing around. He's saying, get Sam Altman. Max Blumenthal. Yeah, I actually thought about that earlier this morning, believe it or not. And I messaged the group for that. Fawzia Siddiqui. Is that her relative? Okay. 004 says, how do I start a conversation for dawah with unknown or not friend type of people? You don't start a conversation like that. You have to show your your character, your akhlaq. Right? You have to show your character and your akhlaq. That's the key thing. And you have to build trust over time. Okay? You have to show your character over time, and it has to be very slow. Okay? All right, another thing to discuss. So Andrew Wood, who debated Daniel Hakikachu the other day, and his main thing that he kept harping on was the IQ scores of Muslims, right? And I'm like, I have a quick question. Let's hypothetically say, okay, let's agree we're all dumb and you're all smart. How does that actually disprove Allah and his prophet? Right? Just like from that angle. Jiu-jitsu. Let's take his argument and go with it. All right, fine. You guys are all the smart ones. You're all better than us. And we're all dumb. And we're all backwards. How does that actually disprove the deen? So that means if I trace back or in the future of history and things are reversed, the truth changes? No brains. It just wants to insult. That's all it wants to do. Is the mic on?
Because this guy's bringing up like false stats. First of all, Muslims are overrepresented in like major fields. You look at doctors and these engineering fields. Muslims are like vastly overrepresented in these fields in the West. So you see like 44% of Muslims or 44% of Muslim adults, like in the US, they're college graduates. And it's only 14% of Christians and 16% are religiously unaffiliated. And then using IQ tests as like a standard, right?
A standard of what even?
First of all, IQ tests are for cognitive abilities.
Which means that you went to a good school at an early age to study math. That's it.
And an IQ, by the way, like it's not based on genetics. It's something that can be like
learned.
cultivated. So if you're in a poor environment, you're gonna have a lower IQ, not because of religion or genetics. And then IQ is only for cognitive abilities, so it doesn't factor in social knowledge and stuff like this. It doesn't like factor.
What about belief, patience, perseverance, all those qualities? Let me ask you another question. The IQ test, it's a pretty standard type of test, right? Can a person sit there study the same type of questions, right?
It's not a standard at all for intelligence at all.
It is not a standard at all for intelligence. And intelligence is not a standard for truth. It does not equate truth. Ben Shapiro's a really smart guy, right? But look at his decisions over the last few. He's tanking himself, right? The whole point was stupid.
Their debate was what's better for society. I mean, come on, let's be honest.
Yeah.
The Europe was in the dark ages until they left the church. Exactly 600 to 1400, the Muslims were in the golden age, right? They were producing everything. They were producing all the math, the science, everything, your computers, everything that your technology that you're using today is because of the Muslims.
Correct.
The only reason the Enlightenment happened was why? Because they left the church. So how is Christianity good for development and technology? Now, tell me this.
Thank you. So you brought it.
Like, what does that even mean?
You brought it comprehensively on. Number one, the claim is wrong.
Completely false.
Claim
Christians
is
didn't
completely
make
false.
any advancements. They were in the dark ages for all of history until they left the church.
Let me ask you this.
Unlike Islam.
Who destroyed Christianity? I'll tell you who did. Nobody. They themselves decided, nah, we're done with this.
You guys knew it was bad for your society.
Yeah.
You guys were backwards. And so guess what you did? You had Galileo, for example, and you had that whole scientific revolution. And you guys said, we have to separate the church and state. Why? Because the church, it doesn't allow for growth.
Yeah.
And so Christianity is terrible for growth of a society.
They themselves, 100% right what you're saying. Like,
we never had that.
Nobody destroyed Christianity. Think about it. Who was in Europe competing against Christianity for all these centuries? Nobody was there. They had the whole thing to themselves. Your own kids, basically, your own society decided enough is enough with this, right?
The only reason you see these things in the Muslim countries, there was colonization from the outside.
Yeah.
There was never this crisis of, Islam is backwards, so we have to change it. You guys had that. We didn't. It's like, this guy's a fool. Yeah? He was just trying to bring like a funny point and, make the audience like rile up and stuff. Joke.
Let me talk about another thing before we wrap up, because we can't miss this flight. I'm packed.
Anyways.
I got the work I'm going to do on the plane, my books that I'm going to read, and got to do hifz, got to prepare the Ramadan series, Okay? I got my snacks. You guys all got your snacks? Hamza, got your snacks? Okay. Yusuf, you got your snacks? That's the funnest part of the flight. Go and get your own snack. Don't are you going to wait around for them to give you dog food? That little bag of pretzels, and one time they announced assorted snacks are coming. Okay. So they came. Now my kids are all pumped because they're on the plane for the first time. And now they don't know that they're flying United. They don't know the difference. Okay. So he offers her the first little bag of fake food, little snack that's got like 5 things in it. And they said, oh, what? She said, oh, what else? He said, assorted. So I get to choose. So I said, all right, ask them. Said, what else you got? I said, no, this is it. It's assorted inside the bag. It's different things. I had a friend of mine go to Japan the other day. I said, oh, they have a good airline? To Japan's airline? He was like, no, I'm going on United. United for 14 hours? That's painful. But the one thing I wanted to address, a lot of videos are going around. A lot of Muslims are going of Muslims getting abused while praying Salah. So we have to remember this is very similar to the Meccan period of time. It's an honor for this to happen, by the way. Get your mindset properly set. This is an honor to be abused for Salah. Now, if you're praying somewhere that you shouldn't be praying, you decrease some of that honor. We're not supposed to pray in roadways. We're not supposed to pray where there's an exit. We're not supposed to pray where pedestrians are walking. We're not supposed to pray on people's private property. We're not supposed to make Salah anywhere that's inconveniencing the people. You're not allowed to make Salah, or it's discouraged to make Salah even, if you were to harm another business. For example, I can't go in the front of a field or a sidewalk, open a big Jumu'ah. The business there may get blocked, may get harmed, what have you. So let's just keep that in mind. Now, that's not what happened with these young people. Just to tell you that as a disclaimer, I'm just saying there is a fiqh of doing things right. So that's number one. But they end up getting abused. All we have to do is just have sabr, as the Prophet ﷺ did, and let their crazy behavior reflect badly on them. Let it come back on them, right? And don't react. Don't let them get a reaction out of you to think you're going to be tough and all that. No, your toughness actually is going to be... Now, by the way, there are some people in our community who are going to be like Umar ibn Khattab and Abu Dharr al-Ghifari. You're going to pay a price, right? I wish those hecklers, dear Christian hecklers, please go to Philadelphia and Newark and heckle the next Muslim you see, right? What's going to happen to you, right? You're going to regret opening your mouth. But you come to other parts, like the other 85%, I would say, of the community. They have to just have sabr, okay? Because getting into fistfights is not your game, right? But I think that you have to have sabr and let them look as terrible as they do, because they actually do look terrible. They look stupid when they're acting like this. They look insane. And just look at the comments. Either their own followers who are as insane as them, or people are saying like, what is this? The Christians are supposed to act like this? How are you going around making fun of someone who's being a Muslim and keep going around saying, Christ is king? What, didn't Jesus turn the other cheek from the Romans who were trying to kill him? In your view, right? Turn the other cheek? Love thine enemy? Well, what about this enemy? I'm telling you, as Dr. Jones said, there is a merger between closet KKK and crusaders in suits. That's what I call them. Closet KKK and crusaders in suits. They merge and think that this is Americana and this is Americanism. Let me tell you something. A lot of you guys, the custodianship of the earth that you have been given will be withdrawn from you. And it's being withdrawn. Custodianship of the earth is from Allah. In different ways. It could be legal immigration, illegal immigration, an army coming, whatever way Allah wants. The custodianship of the earth is not permanent, and it's nobody's right. If the British people stop doing good in the earth, then they can lose their custodianship. And Allah will bring another group of people to do good in the earth in that territory, in that land. In any event, ladies and gentlemen, I guess we will send you guys some videos from Mecca and Medina, because people they like that kind of thing, especially to be remembered in dua in Mecca and Medina. We'll send you some videos from there, and next year we probably will alternate. We do Umrah one year, and we go to a different Muslim country another year. So maybe we'll go to Tarim, winter Dawra, to Tarim next year. So get yourselves ready either for Umrah or winter Dawra. Our studio now is getting filled up with everyone who is joining us on this Umrah for youth. So, but they don't have to be youth, but it's majority youth. Jazakumullahu khairan, everybody. We will see you a week from Tuesday. We'll be back streaming, not next Tuesday, but a week from that Tuesday. Jazakumullahu khairan, everyone. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta. Nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Hold on. We're not done yet. We forgot to recite some Salah on the Prophet, peace be upon him. Right? Let's get Salatul Taj. And there's a sharh on Salatul Taj that I gave, so that nobody gets confused. دافع البلاء والوباء والقحط والمرض والألم. Yes, Allah used him as a sabab for that. That's what it means. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد صاحب التاج والمعراج والبراق والعلم، دافع البلاء والوباء والقحط والمرض والألم، اسمه مكتوب مرفوع مشفوع منقوش في اللوح والقلم، سيد العرب والعجم، جسمه مقدس معطر مطهر منور في البيت والحرم، شمس الضحى بدر الدجى صدر العلا نور الهدى كهف الورى، مصباح الظلم جميل الشيم شفيع الأمم صاحب الجود والكرم، والله عاصمه وجبريل خادمه والبراق مركبه والمعراج سفره وسدرة المنتهى مقامه، وقاب قوسين مطلبه والمطلب مقصوده والمقصود موجوده، سيد المرسلين خاتم النبيين شفيع المذنبين أنيس الغريبين رحمة للعالمين راحة العاشقين مراد المشتاقين شمس العارفين سراج السالكين مصباح المقربين محب الفقراء والغرباء والمساكين، سيد الثقلين نبي الحرمين إمام القبلتين وسيلتنا في الدارين، صاحب قاب قوسين محبوب رب المشرقين والمغربين، جد الحسن والحسين مولانا ومولى الثقلين أبي القاسم محمد بن عبد الله نور من نور الله، يا أيها المشتاقون بنور جماله صلوا عليه وآله وأصحابه وسلموا تسليما. صلى الله وبارك عليه. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Kalbe şifa